welcome back to my channel. This is Ali and this is Java with Ali. So today we are going to continue on with Android and we are going to take a look at our layout editor. So as we go along, we're going to, same as the previous videos that I've done in Java, we're going to include small pieces of vocabulary along the way as we're going along. So what I would like you to do first is create your first basic activity. So last week we created an empty activity, but there's no fragments in an empty activity. So create your first basic activity. And we also created our first emulator as well. So this week we're going to continue on and look at a little bit about fragments. So these are part of your Android application. They're associated with every screen is associated with one or more fragments. You have to be using a particular version of Android, so it has to be over 3.6 I think of Android Studio before you see it, and they will come up in your resource manager. So we're also going to take a little bit of a tour of the IDE, Integrated Development Environment. And you can see some of the things that are happening. So there's your resource manager is here, and your project. Your project is the important part that we're going to look at now. So last week we touched on this a little bit just to introduce ourselves to it. So we have our manifest file, our Java, where our Java code is going to go, and our resources folder. So when we go to layout, we'll be able to see our activity main, contact main, and our fragments. So our fragments are important, but they're also made with XML, so our extensible markup language. And if you're unsure about that, please do check it out. It's basically, it was around after HTML, and then XML came out, and it's done with tags, and that's pretty much then all you need to kind of know for the moment. So when we use the tags, it tags part of the layouts of the file, and then you can code different parts of the way it looks on the screen based on recognizable tags, of course. So when we look at our project, then you see things that are broken into our resources folder, our drawable, layout, menu, and for the moment we're just going to concentrate on our layout. If you do not see fragments, it's one of two things probably. One is Android Studio isn't at a higher version, so it has to be, I think, 3.6 or later. And secondly, you've created an empty activity last week, so you need to create a basic activity. So on the panels then, here is our palette. You can see down here we have our to-do. So when you mark in the code, you can mark to-do and it will come up here. So there's none found so far. We have problems, terminal, which is pretty nice. You can also open your own terminal window separately to Android Studio and still run stuff as well. Our build, which is very important because we built it once. Our logs, which we need as well to look at different things, and you can also integrate different logs with every line of code as well. And our event logs and our layout. Up here then we have our emulator, we have our Gradle, but most importantly we're going to stick around here. So we have our design editor as well. So when I look at activity main layout, we can do code, split, or design. So when I do split, you can see the code and the design together. So I'm going to just minimize this project for the moment. You can see where the fragment first and fragment second are so far. So fragment first, code, you can see here, text view, button, and fragment second. And if I go to code, text view, button. So if I do split, you'll be able to see previous and split, next. So there are your two fragments so far. That's your palette. Now we just have our activity main. So I'm going to minimize our project. And you can see here, this is what it looks like. Hello, first fragment. Next. And our component tree is also important as well, because you can take a look at, it views the views currently in this file and how they're arranged in relation to each other. So we have an app bar layout, toolbar, we have our include, and then here we have a floating action button. And when I click on it, it highlights everything. So you can see the toolbar. If I just pull this across, you can see the toolbar. When I highlight it, you can see the app bar layout, and this layouts the whole thing. So as a component tree, it's a tree, and you can see the button as well on the right hand side, which is a really nice thing to be able to see it. We are in our split view, which we've already seen. Our attributes then are wrap content, or we can also say match parent, and that will dictate a lot of things later on on your layout of things. And visibility is also important. You can set things to be visible or not visible based on permissions. You can set things to be visible and not visible based on other things as well. I'm going to take away the split for the moment. I'm going to also just minimize attributes, minimize my component tree, and now we're just left with our code right here. So we have our app bar layout, and you saw already in the component tree, app bar layout is first. These are the inbuilt parts of Android. So as I explained in the previous version videos of Java, we have already our let's say, our dictionary, I was calling it. So if you're learning a language and you want to know the meaning of a word, you look up the word in the dictionary. In this case, we're looking up the Android part of the world. So as it's there, the dictionary is already on our laptops. When you download Android Studio and the development environment with everything. And it shows here that it's app bar layout class. It's extended and implements, and please check out those videos as well if you're unsure. We have as well then toolbar, and this is a widget. You can see the ID, layout width, layout height, background, and then this closes our first. So you can see the tags that are part of extensible markup language. There's an opening tag and a closing tag, the same with regular XML, except with these tags, they're already inbuilt within Android. So Android already recognizes that it's coming from this com.google.android.material.appbar layout. And within that, then we're using the Android information, if you will. Here then we have our floating action button, and it already has an ID, it already has a layout margin and where it's coming from, so the source itself. And it's all wrapped within our coordinator layout. So our coordinator layout is, like, as you can see by the layout of the code as well, here it's on the very left hand side and everything is within it, so it's embedded within it. And then we have within each order of how it's going. So if I look back again at our layout, we can see here as well, you can also use this hand to move things if you want. It's really a nice thing to be able to do that. You can also increase the size if you're looking for specific pixels or different space between different things. If you're making sure that they're all in alignment looking at the screen itself, then you can zoom in and zoom out based on that, or just set it to 100% like that as well. But for now, we're going to use our little hand dude to come down here as well, and this then zoom to fit screen. Also do that as well. So we have 2, 3, 4, and you can see it on different types of sizes of screen. So this is a pixel extra large as well. So we have portrait or layout mode as well. So here, if I go to System Show UI as well, let's take a look at our split screen, remove our layout validator for the moment and go to our orientation. So we have it in portrait mode at the moment. If we wanted it in layout, that's what it would look like. But we're going to go portrait. You can also set different, so if I want to see my design or my blueprint or design and blueprint together. So your blueprint just shows the actual blueprint in the background as well, and toggle our viewport. So we have our palette, then here we can drag actually in another, let's say if we wanted another button here, we can just drag and drop it. But for the moment, it's not feasible because it's going into a different part of the screen. So if I pull it across here, drag it down here, you see it won't do it. So, and we have to place them within views and stuff like that. So that's it for now, because we're taking it step by step. We want the videos to be quite short. We're looking at the view hierarchies. We've learned about component trees. We've looked at constraint layouts, and we can also change our properties. So here, if I just go here and change this to a separate, let's say, you can see here to just, you can see it changed straight away. You can change this as well to, let's say, 10 dB as well. And you can change all the height. It's actually quite a nice thing to be able to change some of the heights and margins. This is our dimension here, is part of the resources folder. So we'll come to this in here. If I go to my project and then I go to my drawables, my layouts, my menus, min maps, navigations, and my values. So here are my dimensions. So it's looking at dimensions when I go to it. If I just go back here and minimize this for a moment. So if I go to my dimensions, you can see here it looks for fab underscore margin. So if I'm opening up this, there's only one at the moment, so I can create another one here. Oh, let me do that again. So then name equals, let's say, intro Java with Ali. And you can call it whatever you want. Usually it's a better idea to, this is just for demonstration purposes, it is a better idea to name all of your variables and constants something meaningful. But for now, we're just going to have a look at this as a way to demonstrate how we're going to use these. So we need to save this. I'm going to copy this here, go back to here, and I'm going to now paste it here. And if I go to my wonderful part of here, you can see it's changed. Ta-da! So if I go back to, it's 20, and you can see when I highlighted it's 22 dB. So if I go back here then, and it's great for globalizing things. So if I go 36 dB, oh, this changed my, okay, now 36 dB. So you can have one dimension across all of your app. So you're changing some of the values and the variables throughout it. You can change your text as well. So at the moment, we have our text here, and we have them set into two different fragments. So our navigation graph, this is. So we have our component tree and our navigation graph. So our first and our second fragment, but we want to change what it says. So if I go back here and just close our palette for a moment again. So we have our first fragment, first element, and you can see the text here. So it's coming from the @string, which we need to change. So if we go back here to our strings, and it says here first fragment, hello first fragment, which is our hello first. So I'm going to say hello, and save that. So that's now changed here as Hello Ali. So let's try and run our code. So we have changed in 2 files. We've changed in our dimensions and our strings file. If we want to get to the Hello Ali here, you have to double click and double click again, and it goes all the way through the different files. So it's quite intuitive, quite easy to use. Nothing kind of that's out of the ordinary. We can also go to our attributes for our text view and change it there as well. I personally like to change it in the code itself, but there's an option as well to change it within our attributes folder as well, and change the colors and everything like that as well. And that is it for today. So let's run our code. So yeah, that took a little bit longer to pause the video. So you can see here that this is the app so far, next, previous, and it's important as well when you're looking at this. This is now massive. Replace your own action, and you can see as well that this is now smaller because we changed it as well. So I'm going to close this. Go back to our fragments. You can see the flow of the fragment, which we already mentioned. So we have our fragment here, and you can see the text has changed. It's text view first is our ID button first, and they're both linking to each other as well. Content main and our navigation graph. Navigation graph is so cool because it's just linking. Action is here, ID and destination, and it's really intuitive. It's really nice to be able to do it. You can, once you've created more fragments, you can just add first segment, second fragment, third fragment as you go along. And so our action with our second fragment then is to go back to the first fragment, which is, it's pretty nice. So if I go back to content main, let's go to activity main. And so within our app we have multiple XML files. So we have our activity main, our content main, our navigation graph, our fragment first, our fragment second, our strings, our dimensions, and that's all I'm going to cover today because I don't want to overwhelm too many people. And we'll dive more into it as we go along. So I hope you like the video. Please do like, share and subscribe. I really appreciate the subscribers to keep me encouraged to keep going. And if you have any questions, please do comment below. Okay, thanks for watching. Stay safe out there. Okay, bye.